I'm Mel O'Brien and this is Laura Mola, and today we're going to talk to you about Coles' mission for digital inclusion. So we'll start with an activity, and I'm hoping that there's still people that haven't already started eating their chocolate, because that's part of the activity.
It's tempting.
So you might have to use your imagination. So can I ask everybody to put the chocolate in their non-dominant hands? So if you're right-handed, put it in your left hand. If you're left hand, put it in your right hand. And then take that hand and put it behind your back. The hand with the chocolate. Now try and open the chocolate. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I get a show of hands of who was able to open the chocolate? Great. And did anyone ask for help? Isn't it interesting how so few people actually asked for assistance? Ever since we're little kids, we really want to assert our independence and do things for ourselves. And technology has done a really great job in opening the world up and giving people with disabilities more access to the world through increased participation with digital services by making sure that they're accessible. Because we know that 1 in 5 Australians has a disability, so it's really important that we make sure that all of our digital experiences are as accessible as they can be to everybody. And you may not know that approximately 70% of people with disabilities will actually click away from a website immediately if it's not accessible to them, which is a loss of business and frankly a massive wasted opportunity. So today, Laura and I are going to go through where we are now at Coles and talk to you about how we do it. And then Laura's going to talk to you about some quick wins that you can take back to your teams with to make your experiences a bit more accessible. Okay, so where are we now? So the good news is, and last month we were honoured to achieve a Disability Confidence Award at Coles. So Laura and I attended the Australian Disability Networks conference, and Coles actually ranked number 1 in the Australian Disability Networks Access and Inclusion Index, and that is Australia's key benchmarking tool for measuring organisations on their disability confidence and accessibility maturity. But that has been quite a long journey for us. Back in 2014, Coles was actually sued by one of our customers because the website wasn't accessible for her. And obviously, grocery shopping is an essential service for everyone, and this customer is actually blind and she wasn't able to do her shopping online. So, as I said, it's been a journey for us, but we've made a lot of progress in the past 10 years, and that's why we've been able to win these awards. And on the website side, we've actually since then won multiple awards for accessibility of our website. Awards are really great and all, but the reason we do this is it's about the mission, and the mission is to make sure that all of our digital experiences are as accessible as they possibly can be, so we can create environments and spaces, digital and physical, that are inclusive, welcoming and safe for people with disabilities. Okay, so I'll talk to you a bit about some of the key cornerstones that have helped us get to where we are now. The first one is about leadership support, and the second one is the value of having a policy specifically for digital accessibility. And finally, about embedding accessibility end-to-end in your product delivery. So let's start with support from senior leadership. So as I said, last month, Laura and I went to the Australian Network on Disabilities conference, and what was really amazing at that conference was our CEO actually joined the panel, and this is a picture of it behind me, with a bunch of other CEOs talking about the importance of disability inclusion. Having senior leadership and from the top down telling everybody how important accessibility is really sets the tone for the whole business, because it lets the employees know, it lets the customers know that this is something that the business actually cares about. So that meant a lot to us. And the next keystone is about having a digital accessibility policy. So we're lucky enough to have a digital accessibility policy at Coles, and that is actually backed by our CEO and the board. So it has a lot of gravitas. What a policy does is sets the rules for all the employees and staff and customers alike to know that this is something the business actually cares about. And having it formalised policy, that means that we've got something to hang our hat on that's both enforceable, measurable, and actionable. So that gives us a lot to go on when we're doing our everyday work. Now, if you don't have an accessibility policy, because not every company can, you can start with having an accessibility statement. That's a really good starting point, and it kind of sets a true north for your intentions about where you want to go as a company. Okay, I'll give a bit of a background before I hand over to Laura. So the traditional approach to accessibility, which is something that we've moved beyond, is doing testing after launch. So you release and then you go check to make sure if it's accessible by doing an audit, and that surfaces a lot of the bugs and also puts the business at risk because you've got real customers using it when it's live. So it's a lot more expensive as well to go retrospectively and retrofit all those problems, accessibility problems that you have. So I'll hand over to Laura to talk to you about embedding accessibility end-to-end in your product delivery.
Thanks, Mel. So what Coles does differently is we integrate the accessibility into the day-to-day. So it doesn't matter if you're a product designer, you're a developer, you're a business analyst, or you work in marketing, you're still responsible for accessibility. Let's have a look at how this works. So first of all, we have regular check-ins, which are really important with my designers and business analysts as well, and they'll flag any work that's upcoming and could be significant for accessibility. In the next stage, we have our kickoff and discovery. So we're really highlighting accessibility as early on as possible, and it's not only myself who can be raising those potential risks or issues, but anybody within our teams. On to design. So our designers will create inclusive designs that meet the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG for short. We also have regular check-ins and discussions. So we do a collaborative session with that accessible, to make sure it's accessible in the design. The designers also use tools like Stark and Figma, which is a plugin, helps to check things like color contrast or to add in accessibility annotations. Then our business analysts will write accessibility requirements, specifically called Accessibility Acceptance Criteria, which is a short version of those Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, AACs for short. The developers will use those AACs when they're building the features and refer back to them, as well as actually doing some practical accessibility testing with screen readers and other kinds of assistive technologies. Our testers also refer back to those AACs, so you can see how it flows through, as well as testing with assistive technology again. So we have multiple layers of defense. Then release, and it goes through the cycle again and again. But there are some key supports that underpin this process, which I'll get Mel to take you through.
Thanks, Laura. So what Laura's just described is how we work in our Agile squads. And one of the things that we rely heavily on is the support and contributions from all those roles. So for the devs, the testers, the designers, the BAs, the product owners, everybody plays their part. So in order for them to do that, we needed to train them and provide them with and upskill them to provide them with the resources and tools and skills and knowledge about accessibility so they could contribute. Okay.
Awesome. So we're just going to do 2 quick deep dives, first on the design and then on those accessibility acceptance criteria. So for the design, design is really critical and it's a key place that you can make a difference for accessibility. You can meet over 50% of those web content accessibility guidelines at the design stage. So I wanted to share this inclusive design methodology with you through a couple of examples. So first is colour contrast. It's something you hear all the time about in accessibility. That can help somebody who has a permanent disability, such as low vision, but it can also be extended out to help other groups too. So if in the audience, I'm sure many of you have experienced migraines, and that classic aura can make it really hard to read the text. So this is an additional group it will help. As well, Melbourne's weather, it's a bit temperamental, could be cloudy one second, really bright and sunny the next, and all of a sudden it's hard to see what's on your phone screen or your smartwatch. We've got our captions today, which is awesome. Shout out to Alice and the team for that. That helps people who are deaf and hard of hearing, but it also helps if you're unlucky enough to have caught one of the colds, flus, COVIDs that's going around and you had an ear infection. Plus, it could help, it's been a long day, you're looking forward to lunch, you're a bit distracted. It provides multiple methods to take in that information, which is really critical. So I'll hand over to Mel to take you through the accessibility acceptance criteria.
Thanks, Laura. So I just wanted to zoom in quickly on the accessibility acceptance criteria. So we created these to help our BAs include accessibility in their user stories. Writing accessibility requirements are quite complex and technical and really hard and can take a long time. So we wanted to come up with a way that we could leverage and meet them where they are. So the BAs were already writing requirements and we just wanted to add in accessibility into that mix. But we wanted to make it as simple and easy for them to understand as possible. So we took inspiration from the website content accessibility guidelines and then using our knowledge and what we know as the most common failing accessibility problems that we face and came up with a list of 10 top common accessibility issues that we came across and turned those into accessibility acceptance criteria. So, and on the screen I've got a GIF of Rachel from Friends doing it, It's Over My Head. We wanted to simplify it so everyone can do it and feel more confident and it isn't so technical. Because for people who aren't accessibility experts, it's quite complex to understand. Okay, I won't go through all 10 accessibility acceptance criteria with you today. Suffice to say, that's a whole speech in and of itself. But I do have a QR code which goes to my GitHub page which documents all of those 10 criteria. Just to touch on a couple, so the first one is keyboard accessibility, the second one is error handling, and the third one is page title. So those are all now embedded in the user stories, so the devs can refer to them during the build and the testers can refer back to them when they're testing, so we can make sure that we're making the product as accessible as it can be, as it's being designed and built and tested, not after the fact. Okay. Over to you, Laura.
All right, so onto some quick wins now. I've chosen 2 today to talk you through. The first is about adding alt text, and the second is about having a go and using a screen reader. So alt text, it's a description of an image, and it's really helpful for people who are blind or have low vision. It gets read out loud, and that's really awesome. In addition, it can also help if you have slow internet and your images don't load, the alt text will actually come up instead of that. Plus, it's always good for SEO. What's really cool is this AI-generated alt text. It's come a long way in recent years. Didn't used to be half this good, similarly to the captions. So this is an image of myself and Mel at a conference for accessibility in America, maybe a month or two ago. And it said 2 smiling women at a conference wearing attendee badges. One was holding a coffee cup, and it's got that CSUN Assistive Technology Conference banner behind them. So you can see how many details it was actually able to pick up. I've put up the QR code for the tool if you want to try it out yourself and see how that works. But that can really help to improve the efficiency when you're writing alt text, because you can have a really good basis to work off of. You don't have to come up with it all yourself. Why is it important? I just wanted to show a quick case study. So this is a situation where we didn't have alt text, but needed it. It's in the checkout on Coles Online, and each section, that green tick signifies when each section is completed. For people who are blind and using a screen reader, because they didn't know they had to complete the section, many of them were skipping straight to the place order button and actually having issues with checking out, just because we were missing that alt text to tell them that you need to complete each section. All right, now on to checking with a screen reader. So I mentioned that a screen reader reads everything out loud, and native screen reader users, it can be super fast, quite hard to understand. One I'd recommend trying is NVDA, stands for Non-Visual Desktop Access. And this is a free one. It's developed by 2 Aussie entrepreneurs who are blind, and it's a really awesome software. We use it with our own testers and developers. One thing to remember is to use the keyboard only and not your mouse, because that's how somebody with a vision impairment will traditionally use technology. So, fingers crossed this will work. I'll just play a quick demo. This is how NVDA sounds so you can get an idea.
Banner landmark clickable Coles home visited link. Search products, edit search products and recipes blank. Search button. More from Coles button. Account 1 notification button.
Okay, awesome. So you can see it does sound a bit robotic, but that technology is really empowering for somebody who can't see the screen. Now they can access all the same content. So hand over to Mel for the summary.
Thanks, Laura. So today we've talked to you about where we are now in terms of our journey for accessibility, maturity and disability confidence, which is winning awards, we're proud to say. And we also gave you a bit of an idea about how we do it. So the key pillars really are getting support from our senior leadership, as well as having an accessibility policy and embedding accessibility end-to-end in product delivery. And then Laura has taken you through some quick wins, such as including alt text and using a screen reader. And as she said, there are some free ones out there. So NVDA is good for desktop, but also on mobile, you've got TalkBack for Android and VoiceOver for iOS, which are free, and they come in the factory setting, so anyone can just have a crack. Thanks, everyone. Any questions?
I wanted to just leave you with this. So start with the small actions and build. So Coles has come a long way. I'm sure Mel will attest. And you can really start with just those small things.